Hey, if you're like most people looking at a mini gaming PC, you're probably wondering whether you're about to spend your hard-earned cash on a machine that will actually fit into your cramped apartment office, or end up with something that looks cool on the box but just sits there gathering dust. I get it, there's a lot of hype around those tiny desktop-size rigs, and the fear of buying the wrong one is real. You want the power to run a few modern titles, maybe do some light video work, and you don't want to end up plugging in a brick that can't keep up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about what the Kinupute mini PC actually offers in the real world. This is a 12-core AMD Ryzen AI9HX370, paired with 32GB of DDR5 memory and a 2TB PCIe 4.0 SSD. On paper that sounds like a lot, but the question is how those numbers translate when you fire up a game like Elden Ring or a productivity suite like Adobe Premiere on a 1080p monitor. In my testing, the CPU's extra cores come into play mostly when you run multiple workloads, say, a game plus a streaming encoder plus a couple of browser tabs. The machine stays responsive, and you'll notice smoother frame rates than what a typical office PC could deliver. That said, the integrated Radeon 890M graphics, while decent for a compact build, still falls in the mid-range category. It can handle esports titles like Valorant or Fortnite at high settings without hiccups, but when you push into newer, texture-heavy games at 1440p you'll start seeing the frame rate dip into the low 30s. If you were expecting AAA performance on ultra settings, you'll need to temper those expectations. Now, who should really consider this box? If you're a content creator who needs a portable powerhouse to edit 4K footage on the go, the 32GB DDR5 and fast SSD will feel like a treat. The dual 2.5 gigabits per second LAN ports and Wi-Fi 7 connectivity give you plenty of bandwidth for large file transfers or low-latency streaming. Those features shine when you're working in a small studio, moving the rig from a desk to a couch, and still needing reliable network performance. Likewise, if you live in a cramped city apartment and can't accommodate a full-size tower, the compact chassis roughly the size of a small printer lets you place it on a shelf or even mount it behind a monitor. On the flip side, if your primary use case is pure gaming at high resolutions, you might want to look beyond this model. The integrated graphics are fine for many titles, but they don't replace a dedicated GPU. A gamer who expects 4K, ultra settings, or wants to future-proof their system will probably find the performance ceiling limiting. Also, the built-in ports include 3 USB 3.0, 1 USB 2.0, an HDMI 2.1, and a DisplayPort 2.0. That's plenty for peripherals, but if you need a broader selection, say, USB-C with power delivery or multiple Thunderbolt 4 lanes, you'll be constrained. It means you'll likely need a hub or docking station for a multi-monitor workstation, which adds cost and complexity. Let's talk about the hidden trade-offs you might not see in the spec sheet. The mini PC is designed to be silent, but the cooling solution relies on a single fan with a relatively small heatsink. Under sustained load, like when you're rendering a long video or playing a marathon gaming session, the fan ramps up and can become audible. It's not a grinding noise, but it's noticeable if you have a quiet workspace. Temperature spikes stay within safe limits, but you'll see the CPU throttling a few degrees after an hour of continuous heavy use. In practice, this means a slight dip in performance after extended sessions, which is something to keep in mind if you plan to use it as a primary workstation. Another practical consideration is the upgrade path. The motherboard is soldered with the DDR5 DIMMs, so you can't add more RAM later. You're stuck with the 32 gigabytes you get out of the box. While that's plenty for most workloads today, future-proofing for machine learning or massive rendering farms might require more. The PCIe 4.0 SSD slot is a plus, but you can't add a discrete graphics card, it's a sealed system. So the upgrade potential is limited to swapping out the SSD, which is relatively straightforward but still a bit of a hassle compared to a standard desktop where you can drop in a new GPU or extra drives. Real-world value comes from the combination of size, connectivity, and the balance of CPU power with enough memory for heavy multitasking. For someone who needs a compact machine that can double as a decent gaming rig for indie titles and a solid editing platform, the Kinupute Mini PC hits a sweet spot. The 2TB SSD ensures you won't be fighting for storage space, and the dual 2.5 gigabits per second LAN ports are a boon if you're on a gigabit network and want redundancy or a direct link for streaming. The Wi-Fi 7.